The story begins with two sisters, Jill, our main character, and her younger sister Isabelle, lovingly called Izzy. In the opening scene, they are at home, full of energy, reenacting one of Jill's wild school stories, while Robin's Dancing on My Own plays in the background. The song is basically the anthem of their relationship, and later it takes on an even deeper meaning. In a flashback, we see Jill at school when a boy named Colin Corwin kisses her, only to embarrass her in front of his friends afterward. But Jill is not the kind of girl who stays quiet. She fires back with a sharp comeback, and before long, the two get into a public fight at school. As a result, Jill gets suspended yet again. Right from the start, it is clear that she is fearless, outspoken, and never lets anyone walk over her. At home, the sisters love watching cooking shows, especially ones set in San Francisco, which they jokingly call their culinary motherland. Their dream is to move there someday and build a life around food. But beneath their cheerful bond is a painful reality. Both sisters have cystic fibrosis, a serious genetic lung condition. Izzy's condition is much more severe, and their parents are worried because her treatments are no longer working as well as they once did. On New Year's Eve, the entire family gathers for a countdown. From there, the story moves forward. Jill eventually leaves for San Francisco to chase her culinary dream, while Izzy stays back home. Even though they are apart, their connection remains incredibly strong. They talk constantly through phone calls and voicemails, never letting distance come between them. In the present day, Jill is living in San Francisco and working as an apprentice under Chef Bastian, a famous but brutally demanding celebrity chef known for making life miserable for everyone in his kitchen. Jill's job is far from glamorous. She spends endless hours slicing and removing seeds from kumquats, tiny citrus fruits, and she starts feeling like a machine could probably do her job better than she can. She is homesick, running out of money, and has no real path toward becoming a baker unless someone in that department quits. During a call with Izzy, Jill jokes about her frustrations and her disastrous dating life, but the conversation also reveals that Izzy is now relying on oxygen support. Then Izzy receives devastating news. Her latest test results are in, and she has been placed on the lung transplant list. Her condition is getting worse. Jill immediately wants to come home, terrified for her sister, but Izzy refuses to let her give up her dream every time bad news arrives. The sisters comfort each other and promise they will see one another again in 3 weeks for Thanksgiving. But life has other plans. Not long afterward, Jill is out on a casual date when she receives an urgent voicemail from her mother telling her to come home immediately. Jill rushes to the hospital, but by the time she arrives, it is already too late. Izzy's condition suddenly took a turn for the worse, her oxygen levels dropped, and she passed away. Jill's entire world falls apart. She cannot process that her little sister is gone. At Izzy's funeral, Jill delivers a heartbreaking speech. She talks about how Izzy never complained about her illness and how she believed in angels and in the idea that everything happens in a greater order. Through tears, Jill says that in this huge universe, across all of time, it was such a beautiful gift that they got to be sisters. They got to eat pancakes together, paint each other's toenails, grow up side by side, and share a life only sisters could understand. To Jill, the greatest thing they ever had was simple. They got to be sisters. After the funeral, Jill listens to Izzy's old voicemails. They are funny, loving, and completely full of Izzy's personality. Izzy tells Jill she is prettier than Cinderella, gives her ridiculous confidence boosts, and shares stories about sending bold messages to celebrities online. These recordings become the last living piece of Izzy that Jill still has. This is where the true emotional heart of the movie begins. After returning to San Francisco, Jill goes to one of her favorite benches near the Golden Gate Bridge. There she starts leaving voicemails on Izzy's old phone number, talking as though her sister is still listening on the other end. She drinks champagne from a brown paper bag, complains about San Francisco, and openly admits how badly she misses Izzy. These voicemails become Jill's way of surviving her grief. But there is also a small clue that will become important later. Someone unexpectedly mentions boundaries in connection with the voicemails, suggesting that another person may actually be receiving the messages Jill thinks she is leaving for Izzy. When Jill returns to work, her coworker Arthur makes a rude comment about her long absence. Jill bluntly tells him that her sister died. Unable to deal with the pain, Jill begins trying to numb herself through meaningless hookups and brief relationships. During one of these moments, she suddenly breaks down emotionally and keeps asking the other person to tell her that everything will be okay. It becomes painfully clear just how deeply Izzy's death has shattered her. In this same world, we meet Wes, a shady real estate guy with a smooth voice, expensive clothes, and a habit of charming women before quickly moving on. His business practices are not exactly clean either. Wes makes his junior employee Felix access people's private messages so he can get ahead of commercial real estate deals before anyone else does. But one day, Felix finally gets fed up and refuses to keep doing the dirty work. Then comes the movie's romantic turn. At a cafe, Jill meets Tyler Riordan, a charming British guy who hosts a popular dating podcast where he gives women advice about relationships. The irony is that Tyler himself has just been stood up on a date. Trying to hide his embarrassment, he invites Jill to sit with him. At this point, Jill is trying to stay boy sober, meaning she has promised herself to take a break from dating and avoid getting involved with men. But despite that, there is instant chemistry between her and Tyler. When Jill gets ready to leave, Tyler stops her and asks for her number. For the first time since Izzy's death, Jill has a genuine smile on her face. Excited, Jill leaves Izzy another voicemail, telling her all about meeting Tyler. She describes it like something straight out of a Notting Hill or Bridget Jones-style romantic comedy. For the first time, Jill starts to believe that maybe life is giving her another chance at happiness. Meanwhile, back at the bakery, Chef Bastian continues making everyone's lives miserable. One day, a hair is found in a tart, and Bastian unfairly blames another cook named Kirby. Kirby is forced to leave, and suddenly the baker's position finally opens up. For Jill, this is the opportunity she has been waiting for. Her dream may finally be within reach. At the same time, Jill and Tyler's relationship seems to be going incredibly well. Tyler even talks about showing her around England someday, and everything between them feels almost perfect. But then comes a major twist. After their date, Tyler realizes he forgot his wallet and comes back to get it. At that exact moment, he accidentally hears one of Jill's deeply personal and embarrassing voicemails to Izzy. For Jill, it is the kind of moment that makes her want to disappear completely. After that, Tyler suddenly vanishes. No texts, no calls, no explanation. Jill has been ghosted. What hurts even more is that Tyler keeps giving advice on his own podcast, telling women that if a guy is not texting them, it probably means he simply does not want to talk to them. Jill is crushed. The story then shifts toward a wedding. We learn that Wes is the best man at the wedding of his two friends, Brita and Andy, and he is given a +1 invitation. And this is where the movie delivers its biggest twist. Wes has recently received a new work phone, and the number assigned to it turns out to be Izzy's old recycled number. That means every voicemail Jill has been leaving for her late sister has actually been going straight to Wes's phone. At first, Wes, Andy, and Brita listen to the messages and laugh at the strange situation. But then one voicemail changes everything. Jill completely breaks down and asks how she is supposed to keep living without her sister. She talks about how they were supposed to face life together no matter what happened. That is when Wes and his friends finally realize the truth. All of these messages were meant for Jill's sister, who has passed away. The reality hits them hard. They begin arguing about whether they should tell Jill the truth or at least stop listening to her private messages altogether. Meanwhile, Jill decides she is not going to let Tyler get away with ghosting her. She walks straight into one of his live podcast recordings and confronts him in front of the entire audience. Jill throws his own dating advice back in his face and calls him a bargain bin Hugh Grant type who thinks having a podcast makes him some kind of relationship expert. Then she walks out with her head held high, leaving Tyler completely embarrassed in front of everyone. Later, Jill returns to her favorite bench and leaves Izzy another voicemail. This time, she shares a sweet little fantasy. She imagines that someday someone will come sit beside her, she will share her sandwich with him, and they will instantly feel a connection. She says it would be like birds, somehow knowing a storm is coming before anyone else does. And then, something almost unbelievable happens. At that exact moment, Wes walks over and sits beside her, making her fantasy come true almost perfectly. But the truth is, Wes only knows what to say because he has listened to all of Jill's voicemails. He introduces himself as a visitor from Texas who just wants some local recommendations. For a brief moment, he almost tells Jill the truth, but he loses his nerve. Soon, the two begin talking easily. They discover they are both from Texas, both love Jose's tacos, and share many of the same things Jill had talked about missing in her voicemails. Without realizing it, Jill begins opening up to the one man who knows more about her than anyone else should. Wes tells Jill another lie, saying that he is only in San Francisco for 2 weeks. As they keep talking, Jill learns that Wes lost his mother when he was young. One of his favorite childhood meals was her chicken pot pie with a cornbread crust. Wes also hints that he is playing some kind of long game in real estate and prefers to keep his plans close to his chest. Meanwhile, Jill admits that she dreams of starting something of her own, but she has no money, no brand, and no signature dish to build it around. During this time, Jill even helps Wes write his best man speech for Brita and Andy's wedding. Back at the bakery, Jill continues getting treated badly. When she suggests that grating frozen butter can make pastry dough flakier, Chef Bastian and the other cooks laugh at her. But Wes keeps lifting her up. At one point, he grabs the microphone on a comedy tour bus and announces to a bus full of strangers that Jill is an incredibly talented chef who was made for this dream. It is exactly the kind of encouragement Jill has been needing, especially after all the doubts she has been sharing in her voicemails. Then the story takes a really beautiful turn. Wanting to impress Wes, Jill cooks for him. She serves corn fritters, and the moment Wes tastes them, he is stunned. He tells her that Chef Bastian is sitting on a gold mine and is too blind to see it. As they eat, Jill finally opens up about Izzy. She tells Wes that Izzy passed away from cystic fibrosis in November. When they were children, the kitchen was their happy place. Even when Izzy was sick, the two sisters would cook together like little scientists, experimenting and creating things side by side. But now without Izzy, Jill feels like a part of her has gone quiet forever. Wes comforts her and invites her to come with him to Brita and Andy's wedding. Then Jill brings out one final dish, chicken pot pie with a cornbread crust. It is the exact recipe Wes once told her his mother used to make. Wes becomes so emotional that he makes an excuse to go prepare dessert, just so he can hide his tears. In that moment, he is caught between two powerful feelings: how deeply Jill understands him, and the guilt of knowing he has been hiding the truth from her. Throughout their intimate dinner, Wes keeps trying to tell Jill that he has been receiving and listening to her voicemails. He starts to say it more than once, but something always interrupts him, and the truth never comes out. Eventually, they simply sit together watching Top Chef, and Jill falls asleep beside him. The next morning, two more sweet secrets are revealed. Jill tells Wes that her signature dish is dessert tacos. She created them because when Izzy was very sick and could barely eat anything, dessert tacos were one of the few things she could still enjoy. Then Wes shares his own slightly nerdy secret. He collects Magic, the Gathering cards. His mother started giving them to him when he was a kid, and now he is obsessed with finding one of the rarest cards in the world, the Alpha Black Lotus, which would complete his collection. Soon after, Wes leaves, telling Jill that he is heading home. Meanwhile, Brita and Andy keep pressuring Wes to tell Jill the truth. They jokingly compare him to a fake version of Tom Hanks in You've Got Mail, because he has built a connection with Jill while hiding something huge from her. Wes promises them that he will tell Jill everything, face to face. Then comes the wedding night. During his best man speech, Wes tells the story of how Brita and Andy first met. Andy's alarm did not go off one morning, which made him late for a dentist appointment. That random delay caused him to run into Brita, and the rest was history. Wes says that sometimes life quietly arranges things in our favor before we even realize it. Jill is deeply moved by his words, but then comes the movie's most heartbreaking reveal. Jill leaves another voicemail for Izzy right there at the wedding. At the exact same moment, she notices Wes's phone lighting up from the call. In 1 second, everything clicks. Jill realizes that Izzy's old number is connected to Wes's phone. She asks him why her sister's number is calling his phone. Panicking, Wes finally tells her the truth. His new work phone was assigned Izzy's recycled number, and since then, he has been receiving all of Jill's voicemails. Jill is devastated. She realizes Wes already knew about her bench, Jose's tacos, her fantasy about meeting someone, her sister, and all the most private parts of her grief. She tells him that deep down, she always knew something that perfect could not possibly be real. She says she has never been that lucky. Wes tries to explain that he had been planning to tell her. He says Jill deserves someone who can truly love her, but admits that he does not even know how to love someone properly. And then Jill delivers the emotional heart of the movie. She tells Wes that her voicemails were never a wish for some man to come into her life. She does not need a man to save her. She just wants her little sister back. With that, Jill walks away and breaks down alone. Afterward, the bakery's final challenge arrives, a souffle competition that will decide who gets the baker position. Still devastated by everything that happened, Jill thinks about Izzy and asks herself what her sister would have made. Inspired by that memory, Jill creates a stunning dish, souffle pancakes with flambéed kumquats, chantilly cream, and pistachios. But then comes another shock. Instead of choosing Jill for the baker position, Chef Bastian picks Arthur, even though Arthur's souffle is still undercooked in the middle. Jill finally reaches her breaking point. In front of everyone, she exposes Arthur for all the sabotage happening in the kitchen, the hair found in the tarts, the butter left in the freezer, and all the problems that other people got blamed for. Jill reveals that Arthur was behind it all. Then Jill turns on Bastian himself. She exposes the fact that his French accent is fake, that he is actually from Wisconsin, that his real name is Gilbert, and that he did not even win Top Chef. He only came in 3rd place. After years of humiliation, frustration, and bottled up anger, Jill quits her job on the spot. Before walking out, she asks the entire kitchen who is coming with her, but no one steps forward. Soon after, Jill's birthday arrives. Her parents surprise her, but Jill is completely defeated. She tells them she has nothing left and thinks maybe it is time to grow up and get a normal job, something safe and practical like accounting. That is when her parents give her Izzy's old belongings, along with Izzy's college fund. They tell Jill that Izzy would have wanted her to use the money for her dream. Jill's mother reminds her that she is still Izzy's hero. She tells her that she can use that money to prove the world wrong, because that is exactly what Izzy would have said. And those words light a fire inside Jill again. She decides to turn her dream into reality by opening a food truck serving her signature dessert tacos and nachos. But the beginning is not easy. During her first soft opening in the Marina District, everything goes wrong. The truck catches fire, customers get frustrated, and most of them leave before even trying her food. Just when Jill feels like giving up again, someone unexpected shows up. Zella, who used to work with Jill as a prep cook in Chef Bastian's kitchen, comes to help. She helps Jill fix the location, the power setup, and the practical problems holding the truck back. But more importantly, Zella gives Jill the answer she never got when she asked who would stand beside her. Zella tells her, "I'm with you." Together, they move the truck to a better spot, and this time everything changes. Jill's dessert taco truck starts drawing a crowd. People love the food, customers keep lining up, and for the first time, Jill's dream truly begins to take off. Meanwhile, Wes is completely lost without Jill. Every day, he sits at Jose's hoping she might walk in. He quietly checks her Instagram and sees that her food truck is becoming a success. Then he notices something else. Jill has posted that all of Izzy's voicemails were deleted, and she is desperately trying to find a way to get them back. This becomes Wes's biggest chance at redemption. He goes to Felix and begs him to recover Jill's lost voicemails. In exchange, Wes gives up the most valuable thing he owns, the Alpha Black Lotus card, the rare card his mother gave him and the one he had spent his whole life trying to find. By giving up the one thing that connected him to his late mother, Wes tries to reconnect Jill with the sister she lost. Felix tells Wes that instead of chasing Jill down, he should leave her one honest voicemail. On New Year's Eve, Wes leaves Jill a heartfelt message. He tells her how proud he is of her. He explains that he got a new work number, so Jill can keep leaving voicemails for Izzy's old number without anyone else hearing them. He says he has paid for the number through the next year, and from now on, those messages will be private again, just for Jill and Izzy. Then he invites her to spend New Year's Eve at Jose's. Meanwhile, Brita and Andy try to pull Wes out of his loneliness. During their little intervention, they accidentally hear the voicemail he left for Jill. Wes finally admits how broken he feels. He says Jill was not just someone he liked. She became the dream he never knew he had. Then Jill's phone suddenly starts receiving voicemails, and it is Izzy's voice. The recovered messages finally come through, including an old pep talk where Izzy encourages Jill before an interview. Izzy tells her not to be nervous, reminds her that she is with her, and tells her to go out there and do something amazing. The voicemails are back. Brita and Andy tell Wes that this is his moment. He has to go. Then comes the movie's classic final scene. On New Year's Eve, with fireworks exploding across the city, Wes runs through the streets to Jose's. When he finds Jill, he finally tells her the truth about how he feels. He says he loves her, not just from the moment they met, but from even before that, from the way her voice, her courage, and her love for Izzy made him feel something real. He admits that he may not know how to love perfectly, but Jill makes him want to become brave enough to try. Then he repeats Jill's own words back to her. He tells her that he knows she does not need a man to save her, but he needs her. And finally, Jill lets him back into her life. At the end, the two of them leave one last voicemail for Izzy. Wes asks Izzy for her blessing and promises that he will be there for every Top Chef episode and every Robin dance party. Then Jill leaves her final message for her sister. She tells Izzy that she is going to be okay. She says that Wes is one of them, one of those birds who somehow know when a storm is coming. And at that exact moment, Dancing on My Own starts playing inside Jose's. It is the same song that played at the beginning of the movie, making the entire story come full circle, almost as if Izzy is sending Jill one final sign from above. Jill says, "I love you, Isabelle," and finally allows herself to live in that moment. Then Jill and Wes begin dancing together, and that is how the film ends, with the same Robin song it started with, completing a beautiful emotional circle. This is not just a love story, it is a story about learning how to live with grief. After losing Izzy, Jill does not forget her sister or run away from the pain. Instead, she keeps Izzy alive through her food, her courage, and the life she chooses to build. And Wes's story teaches us something too. Real love is not about taking advantage of someone's vulnerability. It is about being willing to give up something precious so that another person can heal. Now tell me in the comments, do you think Jill was right to forgive Wes, or was his lie too big to forgive?